I'm Georgia Kelly, the director of Praxis Peace Institute, and we're based in Sonoma, and this is the first conference we've ever done in San Francisco. We have done 5 conferences previous to this, and this is our first here. I want to tell you a little bit about the background. I think, first of all, I feel very fortunate that we've got some of the leading thinkers and activists in the environmental movement here with us this morning, and we'll have them throughout the conference. Some people are coming in for a day, some will be here the whole time. So we are also excited about the participants because many of you could be speakers as well as the speakers who are here. It's a very educated and thoughtful group of people. One thing I wanted to do before we begin, because a longtime supporter of Praxis Peace Institute and advisory board member was Angeles Arian, who passed away a few months ago. And I wanted to dedicate the conference to her memory and to acknowledge the service that she gave to our organization over a 14-year period. So you might be thinking of her during this time. She was a cultural anthropologist who was involved in our organization since before it even began. So I want to just acknowledge that and dedicate this to her. I wanted to tell you a little bit about Praxis conferences for those of you who haven't been to them. How many of you have been to a Praxis conference before? Okay, enough haven't. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what they are. They always are part inquiry and part solutions. So it's part asking the questions, being able to stay with the questions, and then discuss them throughout the time of the conference. So this conference is dealing with what we believe is the most pressing query of the time. How do we successfully deal with the climate crisis from where we are today? Or as the World Watch book that came out this past year put it, is sustainability still possible? We all believe it is, that's why we're here, but we're also up against a lot of blocks. So there are many new questions to consider, and I think we should kind of slowly move to answers and really plumb the questions. That's part of what our conferences are about, being comfortable in the question without the answer. That's a very hard part, or a hard thing to do in our culture, but it's a very important thing to come up with new ideas and new visions. So let's make the most of the time that we're together here for 3 days. We will probe deeply, radically, and systemically. That's our focus. And in a way, we begin the conference with the subtitle of Naomi Klein's new book, Capitalism versus the Climate. So when we look at economics and the climate crisis, we're really questioning the sacred cow of our culture, which is capitalism. And we will not leave any stone unturned in doing that. So we gather with our eyes open, ready to learn, ready to move and be moved, ready to change the current course of history and dismantle the blocks that are preventing environmental sustainability, social justice, and economic democracy. We will present some exciting and inspiring models that show the way to a transformed culture, but we also will look at the hard facts and the incredible blocks that we are up against in trying to manifest and the solutions to the climate crisis. And because the solutions all end up at the same political and economic dead ends, we must question the sacred cow of capitalism, as I mentioned, that is currently choking our planet and putting profit before people. So from the beginning, Praxis Peace Institute has produced cutting-edge programs that deal with the most critical issues and challenges of our time. These have included peace-building skills, the role of active citizenship in a democracy, the transformation of culture, the economics of peace, and now the economics of sustainability. And another thing that makes our conferences unique is that we ask the speakers, if possible, to spend the whole 3 days or the whole time of the conference on site. This creates community and allows the speakers to have time and interaction with the participants and with each other. So it is a unique feature, and it's something that we are very dedicated to continuing to do, even though it is costly. I want to mention a few things that are kind of perks of the conference, or that we've been very conscious about. One is water, even though a few of us have bottles because that's what we need to bring in here. The water out there, we have a dispensary and we have compostable cups, trying to be as sustainable as possible and as conscious about what we're doing. The napkins, the cups, all are compostable. And they're from World Centric, which is a organization, a business in Petaluma, and that's all they produce are cups, napkins, and things that are all compostable. They're one of our co-sponsors. I believe there are also copies of Yes Magazine. If they're not there yet, they will be in the lobby, in the foyer, for you to pick up. And I'll ask you to probably only take one because there'll be other people coming on other days, and we'd like to have some for them too. At the break, as you probably know, there'll be scones and cookies from Arizmendi Bakery, which is a worker-owned cooperative bakery in the Bay Area with 6 different locations. Those of you who have ordered boxed lunches, and the speakers, you all have boxed lunches and you can pick them up in the foyer as you walk out. And also you should know that Green's Restaurant today is not serving lunch, so that you won't be able to sit down and have lunch there. But they do have like a little cafe in the front where you can get takeout. So that's available. And Goody's Cafe is in building A. C or A? C, okay. So that is also open. And as you probably noticed, we have a great bookstore in the foyer with fabulous books, so please support them too. And most of our speakers will have their books at that bookstore. You also have received name tags this morning, so in order to gain entrance to the conference, you'll be coming and going. Be sure you have your name tag on because the monitors are instructed to not let anyone in without it. So please just be mindful of that. In your packet, you have a brochure on Praxis. You have a Mondragon brochure for our trip next May. And if you're interested in that, you can talk to me or anyone who's already been there. Would anyone who's been to the Mondragon seminar that Praxis has put on stand up so you can see who those people are? And then you can talk to them. Wow, that's quite a group. Okay, and I've been there too, obviously. Our next group will go in May, 10th to 16th. We also have a Praxis book that will be available at the bookstore, and 6 of the authors will be at the conference. It's called Uncivil Liberties, Deconstructing Libertarianism. And that's taking on some of the emerging political ideologies that have been problematic in recent years. And we have membership cards in our brochure, and I encourage you all to become members and support the organization. The programs that we had originally scheduled for Thursday, we are not going to have. We do still have a trip to Swallow Valley Farm in West Sonoma County. And those of you who are interested in going, I would suggest you sign up. It's a 120-acre farm one of our members owns. They do permaculture. They have a biochar training program, which there's another training in November. So you might be interested in checking that out online. It's Swallow Valley Farm in West County, Valley Ford. And co-emceeing the conference with me will be Julianne Morseth, who is sitting here. You can stand up. She is a professor of the Green MBA program at Dominican University and also teaches at St. Mary's. And I'm not sure if my assistant and logistical manager is around, but it's Jennifer Blackwood. And is she here? No, she's probably out somewhere. Anyway, she's the go-to person here. And Keith Wilson will also be helping to drive people back to the hotel who are staying there and to here. Is Keith in the room? None of the workers are in the room. Oh well, they'll get here. He's bringing people from the hotel. So one of the things I wanted to do this morning, because we have, this is kind of the opening of the conference, so I wanted to bring up one of our supporters and members of Praxis Peace Institute, and actually their organization has been a partner with us on this conference. And this is Osprey Orielle Lake, who probably many of you know. She's the founder and president of the Women's Earth and Climate Caucus and is chair of the International Advocacy with the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. She also co-founded the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network, a rights-based approach to climate concerns with women leaders from all over the world. Osprey is the author of the award-winning book, Uprisings for the Earth, and they have it at the bookstore here on site. She is also an extraordinary artist and sculptor and was our artist in residence for our last conference 5 years ago. Many of her works, her sculptures, are featured in international locations, including Jack London Square in Oakland and the Hamburg Airport in Germany. She was the artist in residence before, and actually 2 different times, I believe, and I want to welcome her to the stage to give a few opening remarks. Please welcome Osprey.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see all of you on this beautiful day and coming to have such an important conversation with us. I just have a few comments because I'll be speaking later on this morning. I'm curious if some of you were a few weeks ago at the People's Climate March in New York. Okay, good. I'm really glad to see that. Because really what I wanted to do in my opening remarks is make a connection between the global climate movement and what we're doing here today. Some of you might know that over 400,000 people marched in the streets of New York for the People's Climate March. It was incredibly inspiring. And then there were thousands and thousands of other people all over the world who had marches in cities internationally. This was in response to the UN Climate Summit. And there's just a few things I wanted to mention that I think really speak to the strength of the climate movement now and are directly related to the conference here, the Economics of Sustainability. In the climate movement, we are beginning to experience something that many of us have been working for a long time, and I see a lot of important leaders from organizations who have been efforting for this for a long time. We're seeing a growing diversity in the movement and an understanding that solutions must entail a climate justice and an economic justice component. On the ground in New York City, constituencies from all walks of life created powerful alliances, both within and across groups representing indigenous and frontline communities. We saw women, families, scientists, labor, youth, farmers, politicians, animal rights defenders, divestment campaigners, elders, peace activists, multi-faith groups. It was quite extraordinary to see all these groups working together horizontally for a statement about demanding urgent action on climate change. And in order to highlight the disproportionate effect that the climate crisis is already having on some communities, one of the things that was very interesting is that through the course of the organizing process, the indigenous and frontline communities actually end up leading the march. And this has really begun to change the narrative, demonstrating that frontline peoples need to be recognized, both because of the harms that are being inflicted on frontline communities, but also because of the remarkable solutions coming from people who are actually experiencing climate change and also who are already navigating the social and economic justices of our time. And I think this is a very important part of the conversation that we need to have here over the course of the next few days. Secondly, I think the massive turnout at the march is a real victory and sets a mandate that across the board, people worldwide want action on climate change. And we're understanding much more fully now that we need systemic change. The Economics of Sustainability Conference couldn't be more perfectly timed because one of the key points that surfaced in New York is that to halt the worst effects of climate change, we must address root causes of environmental and economic injustice. As has been mentioned by Georgia, and I'm sure many of you know, Naomi Klein has just come out with her new book, This Changes Everything, Capitalism versus the Climate. Well, this topic, of course, is at the heart of our deliberations, and we must be very clear that our economic system is in no way compatible with our Earth's ecosystem or with social justice. And we're not going to survive as a species unless we change the system at a very deep structural level, and I think we know we have to do this actually rather quickly. Delving deep into what we are going to do about our dysfunctional and dangerous economy is one of the most important conversations that we need to have at this critical juncture in the human experiment. That said, the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network really could not be more thrilled to be partnering with Praxis Peace Institute for this gathering. And it's a real honor to be with many of you, a terrific group of presenters and also participants on this journey. So over the course of the next few days, we can work to envision and regenerate the kind of economy we know we need for the Earth and future generations. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you. Thanks.